Good evening. Mattsquatch here. A little special edition for you guys tonight. A truck driver in Wisconsin, he's not from Wisconsin, but he was making a delivery there, sent me some images and told me a little story, and I wanted to share it with you. I'm going to paraphrase it down. I guess it was about 1 a.m. He was making a delivery to a John Deere factory. This is in Horicon, Wisconsin. And he was going to drop off a trailer, an empty one, and pick up a loaded trailer. So he pulled in. It was about 1 a.m. The guard instructed him to drop it off in an empty spot in the back. And I guess this is kind of somewhat in the middle of nowhere and surrounded by woods, this big factory and trucking yard. And so he finds a spot that's backs up to this big wooded area, and he backs his trailer in. He starts letting it down. He says it was well lit enough to where he didn't need his flashlight. But then when he looked behind him, he got this immense feeling of dread, absolute terror. He didn't see anything move or hear anything. He didn't hear it sway in the wind, but he just saw this skull floating there, staring at him. I guess it really creeped him out. He didn't hear a sound or anything. It's just this skull and this primordial dread, as he describes it. And it had no eyes. It wasn't glowing. It was just this blank skull staring at him. So he slowly backed away, got in his cab, unlocked, and rolled out the warehouse. He's tried to rationalize it, that maybe it was a clump of leaves or something, but he can't come up with any explanation. And he says there's only a few times he's ever experienced this fear. The images that you saw right here now of the skull, this is the drawing of an image that he came up with. I found it pretty fascinating. You can see the sides of two trailers looking back in the woods and just this skull staring at him. Now, I find this very fascinating. I have no idea. This isn't a very common thing seen, but maybe there's some kind of Indian burial ground, some kind of a Native American thing, some kind of a Native American spirit guarding the woods there, or maybe there's a ghost or some kind of demonic entity. Maybe it was a guy in a suit with some kind of a big skull, or someone hung something from a tree to freak people out. Who knows? But the immense feeling of dread that he got in the middle of the night and where he was there, I think he encountered something demonic, something evil that day. And I found it very fascinating just to see a skull. Now, I did Google around, and there are a few stories similar to this. Like I said, I think it's either something Native American, possibly something kind of skinwalker-ish, or the personification of death, like the Grim Reaper. Death comes for you is always kind of a skull or a skeleton. So I found that aspect very fascinating. The other thing that I found very interesting is, I know in Southern California and some of our folklore, the other side of the country, we have, like in Anza Borrego, there's reports of a giant skeleton that walks around the desert. It's supposed to be the skeleton of a miner looking for his claim. And there's kind of stories throughout history of skeletons walking and things moving out. But as far as a disembodied skull floating there, I don't know. That sounds very odd to me. I found it very scary. I just wanted to share it with you folks here. So thank you very much. Stay safe in the woods, folks.